Welcome to the 4th annual Abolition Now Conference, where abolitionists from all over the country have come together to fellowship, to learn, and to prepare for Abolition Day, which is happening this Tuesday. So let's talk about the second victim narrative. The second victim narrative is the belief that the mother who is having an abortion, rather than being a willful participant in it, is rather a victim of it. NotaVictim.org is an organization that is built to demolish this dangerous belief. Let's talk to Kristine Harhoef, the woman who started this organization. Coverage of the 4th annual Abolition Now Conference and Abolition Day is brought to you by Bright Rider Media. We provide consistent professional communication with the outside world. Go to astormcomesrolling.com to check out our feature-length documentary on the rise and doctrine of abolitionism.
Not a Victim got started after we had, I guess it was 2 sessions in Texas where we had an abolition bill. And in those legislative sessions, we could have saved, at the time, 110,000 babies just in between legislative sessions. But we had pro-life Republican legislators who tossed our bill out because they said that they believed that the mothers were, quote, the second victims of the abortion. So they knew that if you are going to try to abolish abortion, you're going to have to enforce that by punishing those who would choose to violate the law. And they did not want to abolish abortion because they knew some women would choose to violate the law and kill their babies anyway. And they believed those women to be the innocent victims right alongside their dead babies. And so we're fighting against that mindset. And this is the second victimhood mindset of aborting mothers is taught by, Right to Life, Abby Johnson, Students for Life. It's absolutely everywhere. And so we're fighting against that, saying abortion is actually a sin issue. We're saying that the mothers in the typical, everyday, normal abortion scenario are not victims like some pro-life organizations are suggesting, that they are willfully and with full knowledge and consent in the typical abortion, committing this sin willfully against their child. And so if we want to end abortion, we've got to stop excusing women and start holding them accountable under the law.
Yeah. Where do you think this came from, the belief that abortive mothers are second victims? Where do you think this whole thing came from?
I think, for starters, it comes from an unbiblical understanding of the nature of sin. Matthew 15 says that murder comes from the heart. And yet, we tend to, as Christians, kind of excuse aborting mothers, I think, because we want to be nice. We don't want to think of these women as intentionally murdering, their children, like we would think of some serial killer out there in a black trench coat, who's murdering people out in the city. We just have a hard time thinking of murder along the lines of mothers actually killing their defenseless little babies. So I think for starters, number one, it's an unbiblical mindset of sin. Number two, I think it stems from a lot of myths. One of those myths is that aborting women are the same group of women as the soft and sweet women who go to the pregnancy centers seeking out help for their pregnancies. And those are, by and large, 2 separate groups of pregnant women that we're seeing out there. Another myth is that people will say, well, the women are all forced into it. Don't you know they're all forced into it by their wicked boyfriends and by their parents? And what we think is happening there is they're getting the terms pressured confused with forced. To forced means I can't do anything else. And we see that when we hear about the mothers in China, for example, who had their doors kicked in by armed guards and they were forcibly aborted upon against their will while they were kicking and screaming to save their babies. That's a forced abortion. What we're seeing in America with the typical everyday normal abortion scenario is that the mothers are facing pressures from all sides. They're even facing pressure from you and me as we engage with them and pressure them to listen to their God-given conscience and to choose life. And then they're facing pressure from those who may be of a pro-abort persuasion, to choose death. But in the end, legally speaking, it is the mother and the mother only who must sign that dotted line at the clinic, giving her informed consent for that abortion. She's got to walk into that clinic. She's got to fork over her hundreds or thousands in blood money, sign that paperwork, climb on the table, undress, swallow the pills. Nobody's forcing them down her throat. And she's got to position her body so as to assist with the abortion. That is not the victim of the abortion. So we would say the baby, and only the baby, is the victim in the typical, everyday, normal abortion scenario.
You say things like blood money, like things like murder mill.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who say that you're being unloving? Like that you're not loving the women and things like that?
It is loving women, and it is certainly loving our babies, to speak plainly about abortion and to stop sugarcoating it with all these safe words that we like to use. We as women need to stop feeling like we need to be coddled under the law and coddled under softer terminology. The Bible uses the term murder, the Bible uses the term slaughter, the Bible uses the term kill, and if the Bible is comfortable with that terminology, then so am I.
Awesome.